What's up, guys? Welcome to Storytime Pitches. I am your host, Josh.
And I am Kurt.
And we're here with some special guests today. We actually helped them out with their 100th episode. So this is actually a sequel. So you actually need to go listen to theirs, RU.comz, RU, like the letters RU, and then spelled out DOTCOMZ. Look it up, watch or listen to their first episode, and then come back and listen to this one because this is the sequel to that. But without further ado, we would like to welcome our guests. Introduce yourself, guys.
Hey, it's Potato.
This is Sheepdog, and I like to think that we're doing a squeakquel.
A squeakquel. There we go. Yeah.
Oh no.
So this will be like major spoilers. So if you haven't listened to the other episode, we're going to jump kind of way further into it than we were. So you're going to be completely lost if you don't go listen to it. So I can't.
And if you're anything like me, you're going to be super lost.
I mean, we did try to recap.
Right.
There's a good recap there.
Yeah.
So we recapped it at the end to kind of go, into this episode. But basically, the very last thing that we left open is that Benjamin Franklin killed his other version, or we don't know if he killed him. He knocked him out and left it kind of at that. So I was kind of thinking, I like Sheepdog's idea of keeping him alive. Like, what if he's not quite the murderer yet, and he just, he has an agenda that he wants to set our dimension right because his, failed so miserably. But what if like you guys were saying, like the age and the weight and all that, what if that rapidly occurred because they were existing in the same timeline? So that was the paradox.
Oh, interesting.
So he almost had no choice but to kill him and then use the markings to like break the paradox curse.
Okay. Yeah.
He quickly goes from Ryan Gosling to Danny DeVito.
Yeah, in like a month.
Yeah, like
What a hunk.
All right, so you had some ideas, right?
I so not with the Ben part, but I like how it's just so casual. Ben, my friend Ben.
Yeah.
yeah.
The agent, I feel like it should be like a Millie Bobby Brown type.
Okay.
Right? So
Kid agent. Kid detective.
Well, that would make sense. She's a female and she's young, so everyone's gonna be like, oh, right. just go work this random case.
Yeah, and she's really good at sleuthing, and it's definitely because we do have a bit of comedy in there. We were talking about that before.
Yeah.
Of how he's just charismatic and stuff. I think I do want to keep that a little bit like, I guess, camp or whatever with the horror element in there.
Yeah. But she can be kind of adventurous and stuff. Like we were talking about the National Treasure. Like hers can be more adventurous and just getting darker as it goes.
Yeah. And then she's I want there to be like a few like flashback parts or something when we kind of learn her character as we go, as all shows do. But we go a little bit into her past, and she was really good at figuring stuff out. So we can show how she's big on, I guess, kind of like me. She grabs onto something and won't let go.
Okay.
And it can start out with whatever her friends' exes or something, and she's like trying to get information from that. And so we know that she will do all kinds of things just to get information about something. And
like she thinks outside the box,
right? Even if people are telling her like, hey, get over it, it's fine, like we figured it out, she's like, no, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, you're missing something here.
Maybe her friends, I mean, like if she is this way even before being in like the FBI or whatever, maybe her friends actually bring up this case. Maybe it comes across like social media and they're like, hey, like, like now that you got into the FBI, like maybe you should try to pitch this to, the FBI. And, they're kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, why not? Like you should pull, those files out. Like that's an unsolved case, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. She comes across it. It gets, yeah, you're right. It gets brought up on social media like it does every few years. And yeah, and she's like, oh, there's got to be more to it. And everyone's like, no, there's not more to it. They figured it out. Like, get over it. It's boring. And she's like, no, I need to know. I need to find the truth. The truth is out there. But she won't say that because that's,
Yeah.
Copyright. Yeah.
yeah.
So she's like Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys type.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
Yeah.
Okay.
And her
Like,
friends are also targets of the Illuminati because they are involved.
Well, I think that would be an interesting part of the story is if we brought in, well, not necessarily that we call it the Illuminati, but basically like a secret organization, that has been trying to keep this under wraps, like the Freemasons, like it's like descendants of them that they've been trying to keep this secret under wraps because not that they knew all the details, but they know that Benjamin Franklin is not the Benjamin Franklin that originally existed in our timeline.
well, Ben Franklin was a Freemason, so like,
Yeah.
it checks out. So I would say that definitely everything that we're saying, there are bits of truth to it. So if someone were to be like, is this show serious? If they looked it up, there would be stuff that they're like, oh, I guess that is accurate. So I guess we kind of got to be careful here.
I guess we're trying to like basically like play ball in a ballpark of secretive, a secretive society that nobody really knows about. Like, I mean, I know that there are people of Freemasons still around, but to the average audience, we're never going to get to that point of having those secrets given to us or stuff like that. So we're kind of just playing ballpark in that area, basically.
Yeah, so we're bouncing off factual things that have actually happened in history and just expanding upon them. Yeah, so like I was saying, like Da Vinci Code is a good example because it's exactly like that. When they start uncovering things, they start getting followed, and it turns into like more aggressive following to where they're actually trying to shut them up and kill them and stuff. So that's kind of what I imagine like her story being in the present time is basically that, and uncovering it as she goes while trying to avoid these like Freemason descendants.
Yeah.
And I'd also say like you'd want her to be, I mean, even though she's like a new agent to the FBI, I would feel like she would have to be kind of like really kind of a gung-ho kind of person. Because these are secretive, things from people, and she's gonna have to like basically like go in there and like start cracking like skulls and cracking fingers to
well, that's why I say Nancy Drew,
information.
Like we watched the Nancy Drew show, and of course everybody knows who Nancy Drew is, but that's how she is in the show too. Like she'll like know somebody's up to something, she'll walk right up to their face like in the middle of a restaurant and like call them out, and like everybody's staring because she knows they're not going to do anything. But yeah, like have her be like that type.
I feel like Millie Bobby Brown is like a good example of that. Like you can see her doing stuff like
assertiveness.
Taking no shit. So that's why I felt, having that in mind, like what would be things that she would do. And I think her trying to figure it out would consist of her like using, things about like leverage and stuff. So things that certain people don't want getting out. And she's like, I will let everyone know about this if you don't really tell me the truth about what happened or what the meaning is behind this. And people are like, okay, all right. And then,
I also think like, like the Freemasons, they have like the ruler and the eye and stuff like that. Like it'd be kind of cool if she actually like, that's kind of like one of the first things that she actually does get into her possession, like Ben Franklin's like actual ruler. Maybe like this thing is like a key to unlocking
the language on the bones.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like that would be kind of like a cool start to like something, the first thing that she actually does find, because then she kind of has like a heading kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Start with the carvings on the bones, of her just looking into that, like totally innocent, you know,
Mhm.
just like starting to piece it together. And then, yeah, like finding that ruler, like you said, and then realizing that there's some kind of like, I guess like what do you call it? Like the little twisty code things.
Cipher.
Oh yeah.
Cipher.
Decoder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
decipher.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, she uses that to start figuring out that this isn't like a language at all, at least any known language. And then that kind of like leads her down the path a little bit more. But it would be really crazy if like these Freemasons, this secret society is like everywhere. So like she's like least expecting it, like she's getting a coffee at the coffee shop or something, and then like she turns around after she's done paying and someone bumps her like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, like guess you're not speaking my language, like something like clever, you know, because they know she's looking into the secret language and stuff. I don't know, that sounds kind of cheesy, but something like that.
I have a bone to pick with you.
Oh no.
Yeah, like you better watch what you're digging up, something like threatening almost.
Yeah, like a lot of the tropes. Like she's gonna go to this one person, and of course they end up getting killed. And she's like, "Oh well, now I know that I'm onto something."
Yeah.
Well, and like it'd be kind of cool, like as Josh said, like if there's, I mean, the Freemasons obviously are in a lot of cities and stuff like that. So like, what if like she has to kind of like basically go through every Freemason, you know, lodge, and actually like a lot of these are just, you know, like fronts, like to distract people from like the actual like real Masonic like lodges kind of thing. So
Yeah, because they become like museums at this point, so they know they're gonna have visitors and stuff.
right, like, and eventually she's gonna probably narrow it down to like maybe just a handful that are legitimate, like you're these are the people that actually hold the keys to these secrets, like they only come from these certain lodges kind of things. So you know, maybe like the first like 10 people she actually does talk to are going to be people that are just like they're just to mislead people on information.
Mhm.
You know, they're just like kind of like jerking her around, kind of, oh yeah, like you should go talk to this guy, and you know there's nothing, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay, what if she has like one of her friends, you know, is like really into like spiritual stuff, you know, and like doing readings and crystals and all that stuff, and this is the one that she ends up kind of talking to about what she's found, and they're like, okay, like I sense the negative energy coming off this, you know, the ruler or whatever she finds, and then she ends up getting killed. But since this friend like runs the shop and like actually does these readings and stuff, she's not supposed to, but she has a hidden camera in there, but because she's her friend, she knows about it. So after the police have investigated and like ruled it out that it was a suicide or something like that, she sneaks in and grabs his camera and watches the footage, gets this guy's face that did it to her, like killed her friend, and then starts coming after him because, like you said, she realizes that she's on the right track.
Right.
And it was Senator Ted Cruz.
Not the Zodiac killer. No, I think that we definitely would want to use like social media, since it is used more often, but she's probably going under like some other name, and we see her like going on Reddit or something for certain questions, and people legit like answering her. Like, of course there's going to be troll answers and all that, and then there's some that like lead her the right way, and she's like, well, this kind of looks legit, and then goes towards that. But I feel like we shouldn't just make it
So typical.
just about her, because then we also have to jump. So are we jumping back and forth?
Yeah, I think we do like a Lost kind of thing where we explore what's going on in the past and then what's going on with her. But yeah, I think her story is so typical. Like every show that's like this follows, like you said, like these tropes. So it would make sense to set it up with something familiar that people kind of expect, predict a little bit, and then we start throwing them some curveballs that they're like, oh, like I had no idea it was going to go there.
I think, would it be like would it be like most shows where it shows a little bit of like past and then like a lot of the present, or
I think it'd be
Would
pretty
we
equal.
focus more on the past?
I think it'd have to be pretty equal because
Yeah.
we'd have to explain her, but we also want Benjamin Franklin to be, like we said, like this charismatic character,
thing, yeah.
and we got to spend just as much time on him as we are on her.
Yeah.
So I think pretty equal parts of it without giving too much away. So I mean, I think we kind of get the gist of where her story is going to go and being changed and all the clues along the way. But I think we should focus on the Benjamin Franklin part, like him being the serial killer and traveling to all these places and spreading his influence to work his way up the ladder. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely.
My thing is like you have to think like the Benjamin Franklin from the Utopia. Okay, like they started out really well, and then they got to a horrible place in the future. And so like now our timeline is it started off horrible and it's trying to, like basically like it's trying to get to a certain point.
Yeah.
And so like that's when they meet. And so that's when he's like basically like rewriting from that point on. And so he's, cutting the things that he knows is going to like basically like bring us to this utopia point in the future.
You were gonna say something, Sheepdog?
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, I just are we still gonna have Tesla and as part of the story?
I think so.
Yeah, put that probably more about that. Maybe at the very beginning, we just like we would have mentioned a little bit about him, or at least that whole interaction between them, and then kind of later it would be explore more into it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like maybe 10 episodes and maybe like the 8th or 9th episode, like after you've already built the characters and this universe and all that, you explain not all of why it's happening, but like the gist of it. Like that's why I say I think we should start like the 8th or 9th episode with Tesla, like in his lab doing all this stuff, and then these Freemasons like break into his lab and like try to shut him down because he's trying to open a portal to another dimension. And that's when he like goes on the run, ends up on the train and all that, and then opens the portal to get away from him, ends up in the other utopia, or in the other dimension with the utopia. So that's when we figure out like all this stuff is great in this world. It's like the perfect world and everything. And then like he shows up kind of like Kurt said, like at the pivotal moment of when everything changes. So he shows up like right as all the chaos starts, and maybe in their dimension it was machines, like maybe machines just took over 5 minutes after he showed up, and he ends up on the run and stuff and ends up hiding out in this place with Benjamin Franklin. And of course he doesn't think anything of it, and then they start asking, but Benjamin Franklin's a genius, so he's sitting there like looking at his briefcase or something, and he's like, oh, that's interesting, like I've never seen anything quite like that. Or like maybe he runs in there and trips and falls and it opens up and then he closes it real fast, but he saw, like Benjamin Franklin saw what was in it, then ends up like knocking him out and stealing it and portaling to our universe and gets out of there right before it goes bad. But like it's like their universe is the yin to our yang.
Right.
And like everything was peaceful, went bad, and ours is everything was bad, but it's going to be good. And in order to do that, since he thinks he's this genius, he has to like knock out all these chess pieces sequentially in a certain way to influence everything happening in the future, because we all know that Benjamin Franklin had slaves and everything like that. So it's like, what if none of that, like obviously human history, like we've always had slaves and all that in the past, but like influencing it in America, like originally they came over here to do things differently, but then they ended up doing exactly the same things. So what if he was a big influence on that? And like him having Benjamin Franklin in his basement like tied up and slowly realizing that the paradox is aging them both and he's going to die fast, he has to kill him and figure out these sigils and stuff that he needs to carve in the bones. And then he kind of reduces himself back to being the Ryan Gosling version of Ben. And that's when he starts putting the pieces together, like I have to do this, like there's no other way that this world is going to go the way that the other one did. Like I have to make sure that these terrible atrocities happen in order to have a perfect utopia, 300 years from now. Like he's thinking that far ahead, but we would almost have to have some kind of like person that gets an idea of what he's doing and is hunting him down in his time period too.
I think that's when the other guys, he starts having to kill them because they start catching on to what he's doing, and so then he kills them.
Yeah,
Jefferson and all that. So he has to kill them, and then he's like, oh no, what have I done? That person still needs to be here. So then he has to travel back, grab someone else, bring them, and they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, we're gonna have to try to like fix this world. We got to make it better. Little does he know he's ruining his world. Okay. And then even though, so I was thinking of, he's over here and he's in our world, he's trying to make it better, but whenever he comes up with an idea, it's like the whole thing, a person is smart, people are blah blah blah. Even though he comes up with an idea, everyone else jumps along and then they make it not good. Like he's like, what if we made a Declaration of Independence or something like that?
Yeah, and everybody's like, that's a stupid idea.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, that'd be a great idea. Make sure that you don't give slaves any rights though. And he's like, wait, what? No, you guys, that's not what I meant. And it's already too late. They've already done that. So he keeps on trying to come up with ideas to make the world better, but then because it's a group of people, they kind of just ruin the idea of what he had. And so and then that's when people start catching on, like certain people start catching on, and so he has to kill them, go to the utopia, bring someone back. He's ruining the utopia, and this world isn't getting any better.
It would be interesting if like we were saying before, the portal is like a one-time thing. Like he opened it and then that was it. So he's here using his charisma to influence all these other people that he wants to be the founding fathers. And maybe like Sheepdog said, like George Washington, that would be amazing. So imagine like he's telling everybody like, we need to have this Declaration of Independence. Like we need to set up this and this and this. Like this is the only way that society is gonna like be this perfect utopia that we want. And of course he knows what it's gonna lead to and everything. Like he is a genius. He's just a psychotic genius. So, but imagine like George Washington just sitting there like, nah, like I'm not gonna sign the thing like that. And everybody else is like totally into it. Like, yeah, this is the greatest thing that we've ever come up with. And George Washington's like, no. So maybe he ends up like following George Washington back to his house. And this is the whole like chopping the apple tree or whatever. And he's back there just chopping wood and he's like freaking ripped and stuff. And like buff George Washington. And like, then Benjamin Franklin comes up to him and confronts him about it. And then they get in this argument and like, he throws the axe down and stuff and then walks over and starts like picking like the apples off the tree and like telling them some story about it. Like, see this apple, like how fast this could go rotten and stuff like that. And like, as he's picking another one, he just like picks up the axe, like, and that's kind of what starts the murder investigation, right. And maybe there's like some famous detective or somebody, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes, that'd be cheesy, but someone like that starts looking into it. Like, like George Washington has been missing for like weeks. And then maybe we don't explain it, but all of a sudden he just pops back up. Like, cause I imagine like we never explain any of this utopia stuff, like I said, to like the 8th or 9th episode. So maybe this happens in like the 1st or 2nd episode. And like right when he's starting to get investigated and this detective like thinks that he has Benjamin Franklin, it's like he's going down, like George Washington pops back up, walks into the Capitol. And then they're just like, well, he's alive. Like, you can't take him down.
Takes a bite of an apple and he's like, what's up, dog?
Yeah.
Didn't we have wooden feet?
So I was thinking like, I mean, like maybe I'm the only one that's thought about this, but like, okay, we have Tesla, who is the first person to figure out this portal. Okay. If Tesla jumped to another dimension, I mean, Tesla was a brilliant person in his own right anyways, but if you're going to jump to another dimension where you know that everybody in this dimension is a direct copy of yourself or of the world you're from, why wouldn't Tesla go back and or basically like why wouldn't Tesla try to track down himself or leave clues while he's there?
Okay.
And
What I
so
imagine, sorry to interrupt. What I imagine is that this is only one episode. Like Tesla has only had one episode, and that's the end of it for season 1. But it would be cool to do like a Rick and Morty type thing where season 2, we go back to what's happening with Tesla living in this other dimension, fighting off like a machine war.
But okay, so but for sorry, going back. Maybe he doesn't know that there's copies of everyone, and Ben Franklin's just the only one that he comes across first.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Tesla.
At least that's how we would explain it in the show. And then other people are like, but why would it? Like, no, he's the first person he saw. That no plot holes here.
Or like so like whenever the portal opens, like it's actually in the time of Ben Franklin. So like at that exact moment, basically the only people that are in his time are the people like the founding fathers.
Yeah, that's why Sheepdog was saying like it's a time and dimension portal.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like
he had oh, what's that?
It's like 100 and some years difference between the two.
Yeah, he was just trying to get away, and so he just like opened up a portal. He didn't know where or what it was gonna take him to.
Yeah.
He's just like, I gotta get away. And then he jumped through and then was like, stumbles a bit. There's like lands on horse manure because it was all over the street. And then he's like, that's Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, but it being a perfect utopia, they would have had technological advances that we never had at that time, because they weren't busy fighting wars. They were busy inventing and bettering their society. So their machine apocalypse happened, 300 years before ours or whatever.
So like almost like a steampunk in a way, like,
yeah,
I mean, like that kind of thing. Like what if at that point they're already in like the steampunk era, like kind of like, I don't know. I haven't read anything with steampunk, but I'm assuming with the machines and, like basically like Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Like, kind of things. Like they're already using machines to like do these huge, great feats. And
I imagine the episode is about Tesla. Like we follow him. And we already know Benjamin Franklin's terrible because we've seen all these terrible things that he's done for the first 7 episodes. And by here, like we're following Tesla, he shows up into this wonderland that's like just amazing utopia. Like everybody lives in peace. Like the machines are just incredible and they like take care of everything for everybody. They already have like robot assistants in their houses that are helping with stuff. But yeah, everything's like kind of steampunk and like classic based, but technologically as more advanced than we are now in our dimension. And him actually like kind of almost befriending Benjamin Franklin at this point. And you're kind of like knowing like, dang, like, why is he talking to this dude? This is really going to be bad. And they end up getting close. And then he sees what's in the briefcase and you kind of see the gears turning that he's going to steal this. And this is how he opens the portal that we saw at the first episode. And then of course the machines take over, the last couple minutes of the episode and everything seems like it's going to be absolutely horrible. And then Benjamin Franklin beats the crap out of him, opens up the portal and takes off. And now Tesla's stranded in this other dimension. And then that's the end of it. Like we never go back to him until maybe like season 2 or something. Like we explore what's going on with him because maybe he's the hero that stopped Benjamin Franklin at one point, but we just never knew about it because Tesla went missing and that was the end of it. So maybe he actually at the end of this whole show is able to like go grab, like he rebuilds the portal somehow, because it's a one and done thing. Because maybe it gets destroyed when Benjamin Franklin comes to our timeline, but maybe he builds the portal, comes back to our dimension, grabs Benjamin Franklin, takes him back to the other dimension, and then he gets killed by his own devices, by the robots and stuff. So Tesla ends up being the hero, but he has to stay in this other dimension. But that would also add to, like, if we did that for like the grand finale, like I get that not everybody's gonna be happy with all finales, but if we did something like that where when Tesla reinvents this portal in their dimension, in the other dimension, and comes to ours, he leaves the window open for the other versions of the founding fathers to come through that we saw way back in season 1.
Right. Yeah.
So like maybe they just start popping up in season 1 and we never explain how or why. And maybe even like at the finale, when we explain this part of it, we don't necessarily give everybody all the answers. Like, I don't think we have to. That's the fun part about it being fictional, is we can just like leave the window open that there was still possibilities that people could travel. And since it's a time and dimension portal, they can easily pop back at any point in time.
Yeah.
But that's where the alternate George Washington came from, and John Adams, and everybody else was presidents at that point.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot to like. I mean, like, I almost feel like stupid for not like paying more attention in history. So I could like legitimately like have like a, oh yeah, like, hey, you know what, Washington would have done like it's like to do this show, we'd actually have to have like legitimate people,
definitely.
like historians, like sitting down with us, like, okay, like I need you to like show me where I can fudge over some of this stuff.
Right. No, it would definitely, this would definitely be a show where we would need to crack open those history books that have not been opened for forever. Crack open those Wikipedia pages.
Educational. Like I imagine like the name of it would just be like Game of Wigs.
Well, what if the wigs were part of the disguise that he was using to kill people?
Oh,
like that was the whole thing. Like there was no such thing before that, and then he started killing these people, and then people started recognizing him, so he had to wear these wigs when he was doing it, and then he made all the founding fathers start wearing them too, and then everything just kind of got influenced from there. So what if season 1 was about the murder spree and replacing all the important people that made our nation what it is today, like, or at least started it. And then the second season is more about Franklin building the army. So this is when he starts the Freemasons and the people that are going to protect their ideals and everything, and I don't know, maybe we make this like a 3-season thing. And then the third season is about the fall of Benjamin Franklin. And that's kind of where we explain the rest of it and how he goes down and his power struggle and him getting like way too influential, and people like just his spread of everything has gotten so far out there that he can't control it anymore. But then his ideals live on through the Freemasons all the way to the current story with the agent following her around and stuff.
Right. And I think the very how it would end, and it would probably make people angry, it ends like the show completely would be done forever, but it ends with someone picking up like a book or something, or his journal or whatever, and so it's like it can still continue, but it's not gonna continue. And so someone's like, whatever, all of his journaling and the things that he wanted to make the world a better world does get picked up, but unfortunately the show ends. So it means that even though he's gone and all the Freemasons are done, maybe they all die, the ideals still continue on. I really don't, though. The whole time I was thinking, I don't want it to be that the agent is connected to Ben Franklin. Yeah,
through like a bloodline or something cheesy. No.
That would just piss me off. Like, no.
It's got to be completely unrelated.
Yeah. People don't have to be connected in order for there to be a story.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean,
I'm
like,
ready to watch the show.
Like, I'm like, I kind of like what you said, like that, like you end it with like a book. Like, what if by the end of it, she basically, like, after going through all this stuff, like basically all this has been written in history at this point, but there's like one lodge that has the entirety of the story that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, it's all written down in this book. Mm-hmm. And she eventually just like finds it, and you know, like maybe like at the end of it, like maybe gets roped into like the Masonic Lodge, like where she's tracked this down so far that she actually becomes like the high like chairman of the lodge because she's the one that has the most information or
Yeah, she
something
takes over.
What's that?
like
She takes over the Illuminati, basically.
yeah, like
she does her
like what
influence after that.
yeah, like she has all this information and she knows what to do with it, and she has all the pieces of what they couldn't achieve at that time, but now she can actually like go from there. So
I
like
that.
I mean, she has like the level, she has, you know, like I'm assuming something like the eye, maybe the eye comes from the utopia, and this eye gives insight onto like, you know, different things or specific ideas. And so like,
Or what if it's a seeing eye that can see the future? But we don't explain that. She just kind of like looks through it, and then she's like, I know what I need to do. And then we go to the end of it. She opens the book, and then she like pretty much like theoretically sits on her throne, like everything. I know how to do everything right. So she basically takes what Benjamin Franklin did, like I'm going to make everything right. And that's how we end the show. And we don't explain anything.
Kill people.
Maybe, or maybe she does it a different way.
Yeah,
She
like
opened the portal.
because she's the only person
Yeah.
that at that time has read the entirety of the history
or experienced it.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe even this book is something that is only given to people. Oh, you know what? Okay, maybe this book has been in a vault, something like that. And even the Masonic lodges have not even been able to get this thing open.
Or what if Tesla has the book in the other dimension?
Oh, okay, that would be good too.
How'd she get it?
That would be something that we could explore. Like maybe the finale is just an epic portal jumping adventure. You know, we just end game it. You know that it's ridiculous and balls to the wall and and like literally like maybe her and Tesla end up meeting up and he gives her this book. You know, like I can almost imagine like we bring in the Mandela effect. Like imagine like that he's lived through this entire machine war because of his knowledge and his experience. And, you know, we cut to it. The beginning of the finale is him like sitting there watching, you know, the Genie movie with Sinbad or something, you know, and they're like, oh, like that's where it came from. And then it's like dimensions start like interweaving because of all the chaos. Like, and then it's back into their respective dimensions.
As far as the Mandela effect being throughout the show, I would think it would be really cool. It would be something that, you know, it would be like an Easter egg or whatever. Sometimes you see like just a kid in the background holding some books that says Berenstain Bears. Yeah. And then later you see like her at a school or something. And there's like a book there that says Berenstain Bears. And so
Febreze can in the background.
So it's just like sprinkled throughout the show where it's going between both.
Yeah, but we never talk about it. It's just there.
Yeah. Like at some point she's in a building and there's like a picture of a bunch of influential people. There's Mandela and like the years, you know, birth, death, and then like later Mandela's on TV. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, see, another cool thing that we have to have in the show, especially just because we live in Colorado, is we have to have like a scene where she ends up having to go to the Denver airport and finds like a hidden elevator that goes down, and there really is an Illuminati base under there.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Is that a thing that people?
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah. Like if you ever look up the Denver airport and then like look up like creepy paintings. Mm-hmm. There was some like really, really creepy paintings in the Denver airport.
It doesn't make any sense. Like why would they put that kind of stuff in an airport?
Yeah, there's a guy with a gas mask and a knife or in a sword, and then there's like children that are dead, and there's like one of every single race in like coffins.
What?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
I've seen it. It's fucking weird. But I'm
surprised you guys don't know about this. They've actually like hinted on it.
I'm surprised I don't know about this.
Too, but it would be cool if we like played into that and something happened where she had to visit this airport, you know.
Oh yeah.
And they kind of invite her down because maybe they like eventually the Freemasons like the descendants of them like realize maybe it's easier to bring her on board rather than trying to stop her. And then they kind of bring her down. And that's where we get a little bit more backstory of what's going on, but she's not going to go for it. Like,
and the paintings are actual paintings of things that actually happened because of things that Ben Franklin was doing.
Yeah, like things that he avoided, like almost showing people like this is what would have happened to your world if we didn't do this and this and this.
Okay. Yeah. Oh wait.
So
Wait,
like,
that's too much.
so
I
with
was gonna
this
say,
book-
and then cryptids, but no, we're not gonna bring them in.
So Josh, with this book that she gets from Tesla in the future, or in this utopia, when she comes back to our timeline, what if this book has the way to like unlock the other part of the book that's in our world? So because by bringing both the books together, she has the entire history of everything, and that's what would make her like the grand master basically of everything. So like where she could start her own, from that point on in our world, she could go from there. Like she can use all this information to basically like make our world great again.
Okay.
Or that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Like
Yeah.
what if one book is like how to decipher it and one book is just a book like with stories and things like that. But
Right.
you don't realize that there's things between the lines until you see the
I
other
think
book.
that one, that's a great idea. Definitely. Oh yeah. Because then that kind of maybe, so she'll find the storybook first.
Yeah, or maybe she doesn't even think anything of it. She just like looks at it and walks by. And then like later on, like when Tesla comes up to her and comes through the portal, like, I need you to take this, like you're the only one that has any idea of what's going on. Like I have to go. And then he gets stuck back to the portal, and that's literally it. And she's just standing there with the other book, like, what do I do with this? And then when she starts opening it, it's just codes and random stuff. And then she sees something, she's like, I've seen this symbol before, and she has to go back to the other book, because that'd be kind of cool, like the National Treasure vibe. Like we would definitely need somebody that can really put together these puzzles to make it like intriguing. That way, you have like the audience kind of trying to piece this together, like, oh, but this and this, and then she missed this, and like
I think even just mentioning that storybook in 1 or 2 episodes before, and then that new book that she gets, and her just like opening it and then being like, and then she sees the symbol, and then black.
But maybe,
and then everyone's like, because that would be a screaming moment, at least for me. I'd be watching it, I'd be like, it's the other book.
Yeah, well, okay, imagine that being, like we said, 10 episodes. Imagine that being the 8th episode, and that's how it ends. And then the 9th episode is Tesla's story when he goes to the other dimension and all that. And then, of course, the 10th episode is the big finale, where we kind of start wrapping all these things up. But what if, like, at the very end of the series, like, you don't even realize all these stuff. Like, we've seen this book before and other books that look like it, but when she gets this other book, it tells her what she needs to do, but we don't necessarily tell anybody that. Like, the very last shot in the whole show is her like looking through like this glass like pyramid with the eye in it, and she like looks into it, and you can just see like the reflections of things in her eyes, and we just show like if you guys can see me right now on the screen, like she's just looking at it, and the shot like just slowly zooms in, and she's like, I know what I have to do, and then like that's the end of the whole show.
And then Godzilla and King Kong fight.
No.
Oh,
Meow.
wrong.
I was
Bobby.
really hoping for Mothra.
And I mean, speaking of Mothra, yeah, that's when I was like, oh, what if there's cryptids and then there's Mothman, and
Well, we could almost play into all those theories. Like, you could literally have things that like machines that look reptilian from the other dimension. So when these portals just randomly start opening around the world in the very last episode of the whole series, like there could be things that are popping up from like sewers, like looking around and stuff that look like reptilians, but they're actually
like,
machines.
Instead of Batman. Instead of Mothman, it's actually just like a soldier from the Utopia that is like Falcon, you know. Just,
Yeah, like the Linkin Park
got
cover,
wings.
like he has the wings.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
I
We're
think
gonna make
yeah,
the show.
it sounds
I'm ready
awesome.
to go.
Like honestly, like the premise of it when like we first started talking about it, I was like, oh, I don't know how we can stretch that out into this whole thing, but the more we got into it, I think
This is I don't know. I think it's pretty great show. And like when I actually want to see the show, that's when I know that it's good.
I think it'd be a weird one. I think honestly, like it would have to be one of those ones that you release like the first couple episodes, and then a couple people that are following it start telling everybody like, you have to watch the show. Like,
Yeah.
it sounds stupid, but just watch it. It's ridiculous.
I mean, like honestly, if Lincoln versus vampires can be a thing, like
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
why couldn't this be a thing?
Well, it kind of vaguely, I guess, is the same vein as Haven. Did you guys ever see Haven?
I've seen most of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, was it that one? Or am I thinking Sleepy Hollow? I don't know.
Sleepy
It was
Hollow,
one
yeah.
of them where it was going to the past and
It
so
was
it's-
Sleepy Hollow because he comes to our time and then he kind of like relates everything that's happening now to something
Right.
that happened to him back in the day, which we could do. We could make the time, you know, where it's going back and forth, like something back then relates to something that's going on nowadays, you know,
Yeah.
without it being cheesy, obviously.
Yeah. So it'd be something like that. I think that it would definitely be a show that people would want to end up watching.
Yeah.
Especially if we get the right like cast and just director for it. I think it's because you said it, but like American Horror Story, that's yeah.
The kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'd have to be bloody like that.
I mean, Christian Bale on cast would be just enough for people to want to watch it.
Right.
Like Christian Bale should play one of the other founding fathers that doesn't
George
get killed
Costanza.
and is on to him, but has to play the game in order not to get killed.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be in. I think it's a solid idea.
I wish I was better with Photoshop because I would definitely want to like make the cast, just like put them all out.
Like the poster, you just see like George Washington with the axe over his shoulder, like holding an apple. And then Benjamin Franklin like opening the portal, like in his hands, like holding the briefcase. Like,
Oh, I think we would need to have oh my gosh, what's his name? I totally lost his name. It's the Alexander Hamilton dude.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Lin-Manuel, there you go. He's like in there, kind of a reference to Alexander Hamilton.
or maybe
Hamilton.
he plays Tesla.
You got something there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just do a recap.
Okay, so the recap would be Benjamin Franklin comes from a different timeline. He comes here, realizes he can't exist in the same timeline as the other one, so he kills the other one, and then pretty much goes on a killing spree from there, replacing the founding fathers, creating the Constitution and America the way that we knew it back then, and just spreading his influence throughout time and creating Freemasons and armies and everything that would influence, you know, what people nowadays would call the Illuminati. And all this is happening at the same time as we're following the modern time of an agent that is discovering bits and pieces that lead her to the true story of what Benjamin Franklin was, and that he was this completely different version from this different timeline. And of course, all the details that went into making that a possibility.
Punto y
Mutant
fin.
Turtles and Charms.
Was that a good recap? I mean,
Yeah, no,
very
that was
brief,
great.
but-
Definitely. So that about sums it up. Yeah, I would say this is definitely a show that people should get made. So if you guys are out there and you want to make a show, you know,
Hit us up.
reach out. Yeah.
Hit us up. Yeah, we want to write it.
Yeah.
But if you steal it,
There
it's
you go. We will give all the ideas, the best ideas. We'll even actually do research.
cool. Maybe. Well,
You know, the basics. Like I said, the Wikipedia of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. This has been
Yeah.
a
Thanks for
fun
having
experience. I mean, you guys made 100 episodes, so congratulations. That's awesome.
Yes, congrats.
Yeah.
And we will definitely try to have you guys on in the future. I know Potato over here, or Anna, I guess we'll say your real name. She had some pretty good ideas about our Awakening podcast we did a few episodes back. So we might do like a revisited version of that with her. But yeah, so keep that in mind and definitely go check them out. Their podcast, like I said, is the letters RU and then spelled out .comz, .comz. Definitely go check that out. And like I said, that's where part 1 is, and then we'll do part 2. So thank you guys for joining us. Everybody, you want to sign off?
Yeah. Bye. Potatoes out.
All right, I'm Josh, and this is Storytime Pitches.
I'm Kurt.